currently paying $240 every 2 weeks for health insurance for a family.
Yep, that's me. I am literally paying. Guys, health insurance is crazy. And is it a scam? Because, I mean, I don't know. We haven't had to really use it. We had an emergency room visit. We paid $250 out of pocket. That's what the insurance said we pay. Of course, the visit's like $3,000 something, so we didn't have to pay that. So thank you, insurance. Even if we had a different insurance, we pay a little bit less, right? We're not gonna pay that whole $3,000. Right now, let me tell you guys, my insurance, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm paying $300 a paycheck, and we barely use it. Out of pocket's probably been like $700 something. And I think that's mostly because we had a baby. When we had our baby, we only paid $250. So it just covers a lot, but it's kind of crazy how much insurance actually costs. So my $300 paycheck, but the company I work for, they're paying way more towards their insurance. So I'm paying only a portion, $600 a month towards insurance, and they're paying maybe $1,000 a paycheck or $2,000 a month. And that's for a family plan. So if you guys don't know, you really end up paying more in insurance depending on how many people you have on your insurance. If you have yourself, you're paying the least amount. If you have another person, the second, and then we have a family, you're paying the highest amount for that insurance. It doesn't matter how many people are in your family, 4 or 5 kids, they're all covered, and it's still going to be the same amount of money.
Does not include my vision
or dental
401k or disability. So when you add all of those in, I'm
it's
paying
crazy.
About $550 every 2 weeks for my entire family to have medical, dental, vision. I have disability coverage, and I also contribute to my 401k.
So for us, we're paying $300 paycheck. I just actually switched insurances. I went to a more basic plan of what I have. So I'll be cutting my insurance in half. The insurance I did have had no deductible. So that means that the insurance will immediately start covering my expenses for whatever, hospital or appointments I have. They're going to cover that. When you do have a deductible, which is what I have now, you pay less money, but you have to pay out of pocket more until insurance kicks in. So I might have to pay $1,500 out of pocket. And then after that, insurance will say, okay, we're going to pay 30%. We're going to pay 50% on these kind of expenses or whatever happens to you. So I went to a plan that it's not a high deductible. It's almost there at the high deductible. It's also taking less out of my paycheck now. So it's kind of like less coverage. But to be honest, you have to decide if you're going to be using insurance a lot. Does your family have a lot of health issues and you never really know what's going to happen? And you can always switch back in open season or when some qualifying event happens to you. We were paying $300, and then I put about like 15%. It comes out to like $600 or $650 a paycheck into my 401k. And then we have dental, which is always cheaper. Vision, which is usually cheaper. Our dental is like $35. Basically $1,000 coming out of my paycheck, including taxes. So we have $1,000 just in coverage and insurance and retirement, and then we have taxes. And it's just crazy, all these deductions that come out. So people say, I make $100,000, I make $80,000. So then you have taxes coming out, you have your 401k coming out, and you also have health insurance coming out. It takes out almost 50% of I swear, I think it's almost 50% of my paycheck or close to it that comes out in deductions. Freaking sane.
We just got our benefits for next year. What I'm currently paying $240 every 2 weeks for is going up to $709 every 2 weeks.
No way. That's crazy.
That does not include my 401k, my vision, my dental, my disability insurance. How can I possibly survive paying $1,500 just in medical coverage
that you may not even use? That's insane. So my insurance, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. I think it just went up by 20-some%. I think we were paying $303, and I think it's going to go to like $340 or $350 a paycheck. That's a good increase right there, guys. That's a great increase. Let me see. It's $350 times 26. So that's $9,000. So $300. So what I was paying $300 times 26 was $7,800. Going up almost $2,000 a year, and you're still getting the same amount of coverage. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Oh my gosh. So last year we had an emergency room visit. $250, right? That was last year. This year, it was $350. And then next year, I'm sure it's going to be up So even hospitals, I don't know how it works, but the insurance is making you pay more money for certain things. So for your emergency room visits, you're going to pay more money, but guess what? You're also going to pay more money to the insurance company. It's absolutely insane. Almost covering less in a way, because they're making you pay more money for your visits and then charging you more money to put into, your insurance or account or pay them. So it's absolutely insane. So what I did, I was like, nah, I'm going to try a year with a deductible plan. Like I said, when you have a deductible plan, usually it costs less than the no deductible plan. So we're going to see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to go, but we're going to see. But when you have this deductible plan, and I don't know if she's going to talk about this little finance for you. When you're saving up, you want to save for the highest deductible. So if something happens, if an emergency happens, you at least have money to cover the deductible, and then insurance will take over and hopefully pay the rest or pay 30% or whatever they end up paying. So I need to make sure that I have $1,500 in my account, $1,500 in my savings account, my high yield savings account, wherever. But I have that highest deductible, so if something happens, so I'm at least able to pay $1,500 towards, whatever the expense is. What she got going on is crazy. Going from $200 to $700 some dollars is insane. I hope that she was able to switch and get a different insurance, because that is completely unreasonable. And then you expect her to save for retirement, but I bet that her pay didn't go up that much, because that's insane.
Just in medical coverage, they already kicked our spouses off of our coverage, because they said if your spouse can get insurance through their job, we're cutting them off.
No way. Wow. They are so greedy. So there's people I work with that they have the same job, but maybe different locations. You put your whole family on your insurance, and then the other spouse, they don't have to have insurance. They get a lot more money in their paycheck. They don't get that $300 or $700 deduction from their paycheck, because they're on the insurance with their spouse. Or people do this all the time, I feel like. My wife had insurance. I have insurance. Maybe she goes on mine, and then she doesn't have to get insurance taken out of her paycheck, so she gets more cash flow, and that cash flow can go towards investments. It can go towards living. It can go towards vacation. Whatever you want to go towards, you have more money. So this is one of the good things about being married, especially if you have two working spouses. One can carry the insurance and the other doesn't have to, so they have extra cash flow.
So not only did you cut them out, it tripled.
Who's her insurance company?
$700 just for medical benefits every 2 weeks. I'm not even talking about a month. This is bi-weekly. How is this? And I work in medical. I have a daughter that's graduating college next year. I have a daughter that's getting married next year. On top of that, we have to live.
When your daughter's getting married, it's probably gonna get kicked off, right? That's what happened with us. When I got married, you're on your own.
How can anybody live spending just $1,500 a month just in healthcare that doesn't cover our dental, that doesn't cover our vision? On top of that, there's a $2,000 deductible and a 20% co-insurance.
Dang, I don't like that insurance. You're paying all that money and you still have a deductible? That's insane, dude.
So either way, anytime we go to the doctor, anytime we do...
I should be grateful for my insurance, because, it wasn't $720, but it was no deductible. $300 a paycheck or whatever it was.
Anything, we got to come out of pocket.
Wow.
On top of what I'm already paying.
That's absolutely insane. Her paying that much money in insurance. And I want to know, how much are you guys paying in insurance? Most likely all the insurances are going up. Our insurance went up. It was a big deal at work. Mostly everyone has the same insurance, and a lot of people actually did switch, because it's very scary to switch. I'm not gonna lie. It's very scary to switch, because you're always like, oh, what if something does happen and I don't have this no deductible insurance that costs a lot? But what if something actually does happen? But it's hard. It's difficult to make that jump. That's why you want to make sure you have a good savings, save a deductible, and save a little bit more for if something happens. Because if something happens, you want to be covered. And that's why we need to have emergency funds. We have to have an emergency fund to cover ourselves when an emergency happens, because it's going to happen. Best way to save for an emergency fund. Let me just tell you guys the best way to save for an emergency fund, so you can switch insurance companies and save a little bit more money in your paycheck, especially if you're not using that insurance on a year-to-year basis. There's no point of having this expensive insurance if you're not really using it, you're a healthy person, you don't really have any medical issues. It's a personal finance decision. Finance is personal to you. But let me tell you how you can save for an emergency fund, because we're kind of doing that right now. Our emergency fund is a little bit down right now, but we're building it back up. We're almost there. I think we'll be there by next month, having a fully funded emergency fund. It's about a 6-month emergency fund, but our expenses are so low that it doesn't have to be a lot of money saved for our emergency fund. So the best way to save for your emergency fund is first lowering your expenses, lowering your housing expense, lowering your food expense, and lowering your transportation expense. If you have a car payment, it's difficult to save for emergency fund. If you have a high house payment or a high rent payment, it's difficult to save. So you need to try to lower your expenses and try not to get into these high expensive things. Try not to get this expensive car, this expensive house, because guess what? That's going to raise the amount of money that you're going to have to save for your emergency fund, because that factors into your baseline expenses. If you have a $2,000 or $2,500 mortgage, oh my gosh, dude, let me see. You're going to have to save $15,000 for a 6-month emergency fund, and that's just for the mortgage. Say you have a car plus $800. Say you have a car for $800 over 5 years, because people are doing that. So crazy. So we're talking about $20,000 you're gonna have to save for a 6-month emergency fund just for a car and a house. We haven't talked about food. We haven't talked about insurance, gas. We haven't talked about utilities. So if you lower your expenses, then you can save this emergency fund even faster. And the second thing you want to do is automate your savings. So this is the best way to build wealth, and I talk about this all the time. Automating your savings to a high yield savings account. So basically, when you get your paycheck, you're going to make sure that a specific amount of money is sent automatically to an Ally Bank account. And I have the link to Ally Bank in the description below. You click that, open an Ally Bank account. They're giving about a 3% return on your money, 3.5 or something like that. It's better than a normal savings account. So you need to automate your money to that savings account, and before you know it, you're going to have that emergency fund. Every month, you're going to keep saving and try not to pull from it. Lower your expenses in those areas, and I believe that you'll be able to save for an emergency fund. It's really that simple, guys. And if you have debt, get out of debt as soon as possible. But if you don't have debt, don't even think about going into debt. Like I said, it all starts with lowering your expenses and automating your savings. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.